Hello, space lovers. Do you know what the most precious thing in this vast universe is? It's not gold, nor any rare metal found across galaxies. The most precious thing in the universe is a tree. And beyond that, the most incredible creation is human life, our biological form. In countless space animations and scientific explorations, we've discovered stars, planets, even metals, but we've never come across a life form like ours. No life made of blood, muscle, and consciousness. Nothing remotely close. So it brings up a strange question. Why is there no other animal in the known universe made of blood like us? Why is human life found only on Earth? To explain this, many people bring God into the conversation. But if you look deeply into the evolution of humanity, the concept of God doesn't really fit. God is largely a belief held by the majority, but ironically, it's the minority of those who questioned or rejected God who pushed civilization forward. In fact, many times in history, when people realized there is no God, entire societies celebrated those moments as breakthroughs. Let's dive deeper. What we see with our eyes may not be the truth. Today, artificial intelligence is recreating human faces and speech. It's becoming harder to tell what's real and what's fake. This brings us to an important idea. In the universe, there exist two truths and two lies at the same time. What we perceive might just be one of those lies. This isn't just philosophical fluff. Many great scientists, philosophers, and thinkers have agreed. What we see is a form of illusion. Even Niels Bohr, who developed atomic theory, believed that reality isn't as solid as it seems. This idea of illusion or Maya doesn't mean life is short. It means what we perceive with our senses may not be real at all. People often argue from their own perspective, using philosophies that align with their worldview. But one of the most unsettling ideas came from a physicist and biologist named Ludwig Boltzmann. It's called the Boltzmann Brain Theory, and we'll talk about that shortly. But before we go deeper, please hit the like button. Why? Because YouTube is like an endless jungle of entertainment. Once a viewer scrolls past, they rarely find their way back. So your like helps anchor this content and support the channel in ways we can even explain. Coming back, technology has advanced to such a degree today that we were losing our ability to think for ourselves. What videos we watch, what products we buy, where we invest money, what food we eat, even who we date or marry. All of this is increasingly being dictated by algorithms. Artificial intelligence is already controlling our lives, but most people are too distracted to even notice. There was a time when people worried that watching too much TV would harm their eyes. Today, Gen Z stares at screens from the moment they wake up till late at night. Real-world interaction is shrinking. So think about it. How will the next generation live? What will they eat? How will they make decisions? Even deeply personal choices are being made by algorithms designed not for human benefit, but for corporate profit. It's not computers making decisions. It's the giant corporations who create those computers and design the algorithms. Their goal? Profit, not wisdom? Billions are spent on research and development to sell you things, and billions more are spent showing you ads until you re-persuaded to buy. Ever notice how a product you just searched shows up again and again on Instagram, YouTube, or your browser? That's algorithmic influence at work. It keeps nudging you until you click buy. So billions of people are being silently controlled by tech without realizing it. And most ordinary people don't even see it happening. That's all real-world talk. Now let's go a bit deeper. Maybe you're a student. Maybe you work a job. Maybe you're in a different phase of life altogether. Still, you've probably asked yourself, what is the meaning of life? Are we just stuck in a rat race? Why were we born? Where do we go after death? When you sit quietly at your desk, in your classroom, or your workplace, you've probably wondered, why am I here? Would it be better to explore space? Will humanity ever travel to another planet? These questions aren't just for scientists. They live inside all of us. But today, people don't get the time to reflect. Instead of finding answers, technology distracts us. In earlier centuries, especially in Europe before the 20th century, things were different. Back then, pandemics like the plague wiped out entire villages. Hundreds died each day. Sometimes there were no survivors left to bury the dead. In those times, people came to realize that even invisible bacteria controlled their fate. And many began to question religion. If God exists, why didn't he help during such suffering? The phrase "God will save you" is only comforting in peaceful times. But when someone dies just an hour after hearing those words, it no longer feels meaningful. In Europe, which once dominated much of the world, has witnessed some of history's most devastating events. In fact, Newton worked on the theory of gravity while quarantined at home during a pandemic. That period sparked deep thinking in humanity. But today, distractions are designed to keep us from thinking at all. There are no limits defined by any one religion or God. That's why humans began to question and even challenge the Bible. Today, in India, many people use the Bible to justify the work they do in the name of God. Some even claim that science originated from that book. But what they don't realize is that science was actually born from questioning and criticizing that book. In fact, whenever we distort the truth of human evolution, we end up taking steps backward. If we don't speak honestly now, we'll end up sacrificing the next generation with our own hands. Thankfully, that mistake wasn't made by the previous generation 100 years ago. At that time, the scientific revolution began by setting religion aside. Scientists started discovering new principles. People like Edwin Hubble found that there were not just one, but many galaxies in the universe. And more importantly, that these galaxies are moving away from each other. This was a bold discovery at the time. Back then, many believed the universe was infinite and static, meaning it had no boundaries and didn't change. Scientists thought that if the universe were truly infinite, it should not expand or move. Now listen carefully. Imagine a swimming pool. It stays still because it has boundaries. The water doesn't spill beyond them. But if that water begins to move outward, it means there is space for it to spread. That's the key idea. Similarly, if we think of the universe like a swimming pool, even if it is a concept we can fully grasp, the galaxies and stars inside it are like water. If those galaxies are spreading outward, then it suggests that there's something beyond the known universe, a space that allows that expansion. This raised big questions at the time. Is the universe truly infinite, or is it finite and expanding into something else? Over time, scientists concluded that the universe does expand, and that zero emptiness or nothingness comes from within the universe itself. In this video, we're not focusing on how the universe began, but on how long it will last. Will it last 1 trillion years, or even a septillion? Because earlier we talked about how human beings came into existence within the universe. If we understand how big the universe is, we might begin to find answers. It was during such discussions that a mysterious scientist named Ludwig Boltzmann emerged. He was a brilliant mathematician, called Boltzmann Mysterious, because he died by suicide in 1906, yet his ideas were so far ahead of his time that few could even imagine them. He worked on statistical mechanics and thermodynamics fields that explore how energy behaves, transforms, and organizes itself in nature. One of the profound insights from his work is that the universe follows certain laws. One of those laws is painfully simple. When someone dies, they cannot come back to life. No matter how much money is spent or what technology is used, it's impossible to reverse death. Likewise, a person cannot return to their youth from old age. Now you might wonder, what does thermodynamics have to do with this? The answer is everything. Humans are made up of atoms. When millions of atoms are arranged in a certain way, they form a person. Currently, there are around 8 billion people on Earth, yet not a single one is exactly like another. How is that possible? Atoms exist all over the world, yet each person is unique. Why? Because those atoms are arranged differently in every individual. This brings us to two truths. Once a person dies, they cannot be brought back. No two people are made of atoms arranged in the exact same way. These truths apply to everything in the universe. For example, if you break an egg, you can't reverse it. If hot coffee cools down, it won't heat itself back up naturally. Similarly, if we look at human history, we see a pattern. Humans formed civilizations, developed political systems, established religious kingdoms, and were moving in cycles like that. But a human doesn't become a human again once lost. Once knowledge is acquired, it doesn't disappear. You can't destroy knowledge. So what does all this tell us? that the universe follows a lit moves from a state of low disorder to high disorder. In physics, this is called entropy. It's like a miniature Big Bang. From one atom, billions of atoms were formed and scattered. In this video, I want to tell you more about entropy. Entropy isn't a physical force. It's a natural direction, a tendency toward disorder. Even though definitions in thermodynamics are complex, the idea is simple. Entropy explains how the universe works from common sense. Now, let's talk about Boltzmann again. In the 19th century, before most of modern physics was even born, Boltzmann was already ahead of his time. The Big Bang theory wouldn't be proposed until 1927. Boltzmann died in 1906, but before he died, he had already uncovered secrets of the universe. According to Boltzmann, the universe grows with time. It becomes more chaotic. As a mathematician, he believed that, although the planets are flying apart, this movement might come to a halt if given infinite time. He asked questions that others avoided. If the universe truly obeys entropy, and infinite time exists, then there must be a point when entropy reverses. In that moment, the universe would reset, just like the Big Bang. That's what he believed. Our current universe might have been born in such a moment. But nobody agreed with Boltzmann. He was ridiculed. Even scientists like Arthur Eddington dismissed his ideas. Eddington once mocked him by saying, "If a universe can be created from randomness, then a single brain could also be randomly formed somewhere in the universe." Although, said sarcastically, this idea gave birth to the Boltzmann brain hypothesis. According to this idea, if the universe exists for an infinite amount of time, then it's possible that a brain could form by chance from scattered particles without a full body or world. It might even think it's living a real life, though it's just floating in space. This is what we call a Boltzmann brain. It means, what if your entire life is an illusion created by a random brain in the cosmos? Our brains are just collections of atoms, molecules, proteins, and neurons. Could such a brain exist by chance in space? In limited time? Probably not. But in infinite time, Boltzmann said, yes. You may ask, how can I be just a brain floating in space? I see people, I talk, I touch, I plan my life. But what we experience is processed only inside our brain. Everything's sight, touch, smells a neural signal. If your brain didn't perceive it, it wouldn't exist for you. Does this mean everything since your childhood is an illusion? Like a dream, when we sleep, we might live an entire lifetime in that dream. But once we wake up, it's gone. Similarly, in life, the past is gone. The future hasn't arrived. All we have is this moment. And even this moment passes before we can fully grasp it. So some of you might believe in God, but is it fair to say God created all this? Entropy naturally breaks and reforms the universe. What guarantee is there that God didn't also emerge from such randomness that leads to infinite questions? And religions often don't want to address this. But Boltzmann's theory forces us to confront it. In this video, we also mention another great mind, Roger Penrose, a Nobel laureate. Unlike Boltzmann, Penrose lived to see his theories accepted. But Boltzmann died before the world understood his genius. He was mocked and rejected. It's said that Boltzmann took his own life because he couldn't bear the weight of knowing the universe's secrets that the world was ready to hear. That's the tragedy of a man 60 years ahead of his time. Before Einstein, the man who best understood the universe was Ludwig Boltzmann. Today, his ideas are fundamental to fluid dynamics, plasma physics, quantum mechanics, and cosmology. And so, Boltzmann's brain may not be just a theory, it might be our reality.